Hey guys, and welcome back to Wind Waker HD for the second and final Sage dungeon, the Wind Temple. Take it away, Link. Oh, beautiful.
Definitely my favorite of the two, and I actually really like how when the Sage characters play the song back, they don't just play it like as it sounds, they add their own little twist to it, like Medley includes extra notes, Makar kind of does like double notes.
These fucking indie artists always gotta put their own flourish on stuff. Just play the damn song, the thing we're paying you to play.
Hey, I would buy Makar's CD. I don't care what he does to the music, I'd buy it.
I like how I'm trying to make a political stance here when I have no idea about any kind of the indie scene or anything, but the Wind Temple, you say you like this. Why exactly?
I think I just really like the aesthetic more. Because even though it's still doing the whole forest is wind, wind is forest dealio. I mean, you see a giant wispy glyph right there over the door. I think I prefer the puzzles. Just because there's a bit more variety in it. The Earth Temple just strikes me as just the same puzzle a bunch of times. And it's done well. It's not a negative. It's just that I think I prefer the variety with this dungeon than with the execution in the last dungeon.
I can understand that, because in Earth Temple it's basically just manipulate light. Here you're manipulating trees, you've got like weight puzzles with the iron boots and coming up the hook shot. And yeah, the variety is a lot more important in the Wind Temple, but I find it to be a lot more fiddly than Earth Temple, and that's mostly due to the fact that I think Medley is more fun to play as than Makar.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. So we gotta control Makar again, just like Medley, but I do like how they are different enough. They're not greatly different. I mean, they both have a type of flight ability. Makar randomly just spouts out a giant grass helicopter out of his butt, which I did not see coming. And Medley has her wings. But whereas Medley was more as a secondary mirror shield, Makar is going to be a platform setter for you.
These trees grow abnormally fast. Should we be worried about the Koroks out on the Great Sea?
No, because I'm pretty sure it's the salty air that's keeping them from growing. Or it could be the fact that since this is Hyrule, like the plants just grow better here in Hyrule.
Oh yeah, it is Hyrule, isn't it? You tend to forget that once you go inside these temples.
Yeah, that's what I was saying a couple parts back, is that they try to add that twist of lore to these dungeons that, hey, you're technically in Hyrule right now. These dungeons exist in the sunken city, or the sunken kingdom, but it doesn't matter. You never see outside. These might as well be part of the ocean too. It doesn't matter.
I like how they're using the iron boots. Like, you're using a specific item before you even get the dungeon's item, so already the puzzles have kind of evolved.
Well, the two dungeons have their primary and secondary item. It's just that because the Earth Temples was the strength upgrade, you couldn't really tell. But did you notice how Earth Temple had a lot of block pushing puzzles? And so that they're sort of puzzles in disguise. Like, they feel like stuff you've already been doing, but you're technically using the pre-item dungeon, and you're doing the same with this dungeon as well.
Oh yeah, the massive scorpion block mirror things. I didn't even, consider that it was because of the power bracelets, so we'd be able to move those.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. They're puzzles in disguise, but you were using two items in the last dungeon. It's just this one is more noticeable because you're having to use an equipable item, I guess. Like, I'm sure if the last dungeon was done like a 2D Zelda, where you have to equip the power bracelet, one, it would be annoying, but two, you would obviously be able to tell that it was a 2-item dungeon.
Hey, we're going to need Makar for this one, so go and plant the seeds of the future.
Go, you adorable little onion man.
He's got a little, chime in him when he walks.
He jingles! He's a rattle!
Oh, I swear, if I ever get a Makar plushie, it better fucking jingle.
It's just all the seeds that he's carrying inside him.
Yeah, I think I've seen too many of those types of movies, you know what I'm saying?
But yeah, I did not see the whole propeller thing come in. That was a shock.
Well, they gotta get across the... Well, actually, you say that, but the Koroks took off using these, helicopter leaves, at the end of the Pearl cutscene in the Forest Haven.
Yeah, but they were holding on to those. His coming out of his butt is just, weird.
Makar, no!
Oh no! My buddy! My adorable little buddy!
He's fine, don't worry about it.
Okay, good. He's got sage powers.
Let's take it out on this, like, pea hat thing here.
Freeze frame.
I'm very proud of myself for not making a Zawaldo joke, though.
We get it, Makar. We're here. We're here to save you. Just chill out, bro.
It was like I didn't exist for a whole 10 seconds.
So believe it or not, at this point in the game, Makar is optional. But if you want to do things casually, then no, you really should save him.
Almost a friggin' terrifying, by the way.
They really are. The Armos Knights, because they're a bit different than the regular Armos. Because the Armoses were the ones that kind of have like their hands on their hip, and they're doing the I'm a little teapot stance. Yeah, but the ones that you throw the bombs in their mouth, those are the Armos Knights.
Ah, okay. They start to throw, like, floor masters at you a lot now, and all that happens if you get caught by one is, I think you get deposited in, like, the big room, or, you know, the nearest equivalent to it. Same for Makar, really.
Yeah, that's the difference in the layout of the two dungeons. With the Earth Temple, it was, there was a lot of corridors, and it was just a lot of paths. So it was really much like an actual catacomb. With the Wind Temple, there's actually just one big giant center room, and you have to navigate all the floors adjacent to this giant multi-floored column.
Oh, I guess we haven't made them use the Deku Leaf enough. Here you go.
Well, you use it a lot in exploration, but yeah, in terms of dungeons and stuff, when you had Medley be your flyer, you kind of forgot that you had the leaf. Because at least with Medley, you could maintain altitude for a little bit, whereas the Deku Leaf kind of just begins descent from the get-go, unless you use leaf pumping to like just cancel it and immediately reactivate it, so you keep your altitude.
I start using ice arrows a lot in this dungeon. I guess I just like the visual style of it.
It's pretty cool because it's not like you even have to, but they're there and they're useful, unlike in other games.
I could be really nitpicky and ask what's powering these wind turbines, but I'm not going to. I'll just heavily infer it.
The power of wind, it's the Wind Temple.
That's magic and therefore not tangible, so...
It's Zelda, it's magic. I don't buy it. It would have been kind of cool if with the Deku Leaf you could have just reflected those fireballs back at him.
Oh, dude. I didn't even think to try that.
It wouldn't have worked. I don't even need to see a demonstration to know that Nintendo wouldn't have thought of something so cool.
Well, just going by Pokemon logic, grass ain't gonna beat fire.
Yeah. Oh, he's so adorable with his little stumpy boots. But seriously, it is kind of weird. I remember when I first played this game, before I knew, obviously, the lore of wind forest temples, I was always wondering why the bird girl was the earth sage, but the plant guy was wind.
Actually, I was going to save this until we got to the boss of this dungeon, but I may as well bring it up now. Isn't it funny how the boss of the Earth Temple is a ghost who, well, yes, you know, death connected to the Earth and such, uses, like, wind as one of his primary attacks, but the boss of the Wind Temple is something that, yeah, it flies, but it digs into the Earth primarily.
Yeah, because Jahala was blowing you with air. So, yeah, there is some weirdness going on here, but then it starts to make sense when you're like, oh, okay, forest temples are wind temples in Zelda lore because they just couldn't get their idea off the ground.
Love the boss of this dungeon, by the way. It actually took me a bit to warm up to him, because with the hookshot, which is the weapon we're getting in this dungeon, he can be a little bit fiddly at first, because this hookshot has a little pop before it flies off.
Yeah, it does. Do really like... This puzzle is a really cute one. Even though you can just bypass the spikes by using a bomb to blast yourself onto the spikes, and then using your, like, invincibility frames to just walk over to the chest. So there you go. There's one more use for bombs, because it's not like we've been using them lately. Been using them ice arrows too much.
They wouldn't really find a proper use for bombs until Twilight Princess rolled around, and you could combine them with arrows, which is one of the sickest things I've ever seen in a Zelda game.
Yeah, it's like they needed to make about 3 types of bombs in order for bombs to be useful.
Oh, here comes the shiny variant of the Wizrobe. No, I am not Toucan-san, but I find that idea hilarious.
Follow your nose to your doom. This mini-boss, and honestly, the mini-boss of the last dungeon and this one are kind of lame, because it's just like special versions of enemies.
I think they kind of started to run out of ideas for mini-bosses at this point.
It is kind of depressing, because the first mini-boss was a moblin. Alright, it was just moblins flying in and attacking you. The second one was Mothula, which that was a good mini-boss. The third one was your first Dark Nut, which, you know, I'll allow that. Even though it's like, oh, it's an enemy that they reuse. Like, yeah, but they reuse it afterwards.
Well, I get my ass kicked in this. I actually forgot how bad this take was.
But, so you had the Dark Nut. That was a pretty okay mini-boss, too. Phantom Ganon is best mini-boss in this game.
Yeah.
Then you had multiple Stalfoses, which that's kind of lame. And then this one is just getting rid of, like you said, the shiny Wizrobe, which is pretty fucking lame. So the mini-bosses in this game, for having memorable bosses, the mini-bosses in this game are terrible, and they do not do the music that plays during them any justice whatsoever.
The hardest part of this fight is just that he will summon like a... I'm not even sure if you could call it a regular Wizrobe, because it's a little bit tougher. But, yeah, he'll be, like, summoning things, his subordinate will be summoning things, and it can very quickly become a clusterfuck. So, take out the one he summons first, and then focus on him.
Thankfully, he goes down super easy to Ice Arrows and Hammer.
Like, if he ever bothers to spawn on the ground level, of course.
It does become an RNG boss at that point, yes.
The hook shot. I love the little wind flourishes on it.
I never really noticed them too much. I always noticed the arm guard, but never the little, like you said, the little wind puffs.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like it. I like that it is blue like the original one. They definitely were inspiring it off of the Ocarina of Time versus the Majora's Mask pinchy shot.
Yeah, I don't get why that one was all gold and they kept it all gold for the 3D version.
Yeah, no. But of course, Claw Shot owns, Double Claw Shot owns even more, so everything is just a fight for second place after that.
Shit, they really should have, like, engaged in combat, or allowed you to engage in combat with the double claw shots, like, send them flying out and whip them around like whips.
What you're asking for is a Zelda game made by Platinum Games, which, you know what? I'll allow it, because Platinum Games is making a new Nier game, so anything's possible in life anymore.
Yeah, they're also making a Transformers game based on G1.
Yeah, whatever, I don't give a crap. Nier! Fucking Nier!
Well, I liked the Square Enix conference. It had Kingdom Hearts 3, which was nice, but the false prophet was there, so it made me kind of angry.
Wanna know what I was disappointed? I got no new Dissidia information. What up with that?
Yeah, it'll come to PS4, don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not worried about that, but I need to know what new characters are gonna show up. I need to pick my mains now, before the game's even out.
Oh, what's in the chest?
Rupees? It's the second half of Wind Waker. It's gotta be rupees, right?
No, but it is just as valuable. It can lead us to rupees.
So, you're saying it's a chart that takes me to charts that takes me to rupees.
Ugh. Oh, we'll get to that, don't you worry. I can finally bring the truth to light.
The poor Japanese is all I gotta say.
Oh. Anyway, now that we've got both the Iron Boots and the hookshot, we can actually rescue Makar and get on with the dungeon proper.
That's definitely an interesting thing that they do with this dungeon, is that usually... Well, this dungeon is quite similar to a water-based dungeon in that the main mechanic we're dealing with here is weight.
Mm-hmm.
Whether making ourselves heavier with the boots or lighter with the wind. And so... And it also has the whole dealio of multi-floors, but in a center platform. Like, not a lot of people would notice it, but this dungeon has a lot in common with Ocarina of Time's water dungeon.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's just that it's sort of in a different it's got a new coat of paint on it, but once you start at the fact that you get the hook/long shot from both dungeons, it starts to come together. But I do like the idea of reducing weight in air versus with water, because with water it's like, that's honestly the most boring mechanic you can use with water, is that, oh, you can sink and float in it. It's like, really, guys? Ugh.
That's a nice touch that you get a joy pendant in a chest right next to Makar when you rescue him.
He should have given you a piece of heart when you saved him, but no.
Do you think that was like kind of the precursor for the joy crystals or the gratitude crystals in Skyward Sword?
I'm gonna go with yes. Even though a lot of like that crafting has a lot of basis in the Oracle games.
Yeah, true.
Like especially the rings and shit. Because everyone was like, oh my god, RPG elements in Zelda, this has never happened before. He's like, have any of you even played the second game?
A resounding no echoes throughout time and space.
Do you even know of the second game then?
Are we ever gonna get to the second game?
Yes, we have to. It's in my contract.
What contract, mate? Let's be honest.
The one where I signed my soul over for internet fame.
Ah, yes, that one. About that. Maybe you should have signed with Brain Scratch instead.
I am knowledgeable in such game franchises as The Legend of Zelda, and Final Fantasy, and The Legend of Zelda.
And insert game here.
It's literally on my resume.
Okay, this is sort of where the pace of the dungeon craters for me, so to speak, in that you got to manage both Makar and Link. But the thing with Makar is, he's so light, he will be blown about by that big gust of wind in the center, and your meter will still tick down, so have fun if it runs out, you gotta like fly back up again.
Yeah, that's one thing I will give the Earth Temple, is that even though it was an escort, it never felt like you were dragging Melee. It felt like Melee was definitely coming along. She was never an obstacle in holding you back. You know, she was just along for it. Makar is definitely... he's a liability, that's what it probably was. Melee was a help. Makar is a liability, because that guy, you have to work to keep him safe and to keep him along with you.
I mean, you know, it's natural given his size. He's just more childlike in nature, whereas Medley is roughly the same size as Link, if not just a teeny bit shorter. But it's just how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, but it sort of emphasizes him more in the negative light of escort missions, because escort missions can be good. Like, it is really cool to solve puzzles using two people.
Yeah.
Which the Earth Temple does. What sucks is when you have to watch your own back along as someone else's back and they can't defend themselves. Makar.
Yeah.
So, while I do like this dungeon, I do agree that once you have to start moving Makar through this not even half, this is like majority of the dungeon.
Yeah.
He is a fucking pain in the ass, but he's so adorable.
I guess that makes up for it then. I usually forget the key that we just got. I don't know about you.
It is really easy to miss a lot of the keys. Like I said, it's very much like the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time, where you have to make sure that you explore all the floors before a change, and then once the change occurs, you need to go back and re-explore those floors.
Jesus, the parallels are like so obvious once you just take a second to examine stuff.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird that I would say that this is one of my favorite, when this is pretty much just the Water Temple with weeds.
Well, you speaking where you got here, you know. How do you feel about the music of the temple? In the original, I'm not sure if you've had a proper listen of the HD remake, in quotation marks, but it felt a lot more like ethereal, shall we say?
I can sort of notice it. It was a lot more airy, like, in terms of like the instrumentation, the original version, but yeah, there's something I forgot, was that a lot of the music in this game, unlike, you know, the graphical assets, weren't just ripped straight off. They actually redid, retouched, remastered some of the tracks in this game. And from what I can tell, I'm not noticing anything negative. Like, it could just be exactly the same, but there's nothing that I can pick up right now that would cause me to think that they did anything worse to the music.
No, I actually like it a lot more than the original, and I'll tell you for why, because it reminds me of Pikmin now.
Oh. yeah, I get it. Because the music in that series always seems to be, even though it's very foresty and airy, it also has like that, like you said, the sort of ethereal or mystic sound to the music.
Well, it is set after the apocalypse.
Oh, is it now?
Yeah, all the humans have died out. That's why you find, like, D-pads and Nintendo game cassettes and such in Pikmin 2.
Like, I wonder if you can shoot a fire arrow at Makar.
Oh, no. Oh, Jesus, game over. Return of Ganon.
Well, it's like you can make Medley all dizzy, so why can't you, make Makar all toasty?
Darn.
That's another thing, too, is that with Medley, her shield could be used against enemies, so she had kind of an offensive capability. I mean, it was really just to stun them so that Link could take care of them.
Yeah.
Makar is so helpless, and I know that fits with his character. You're not going to make the adorable little onion like a god warrior, but like I said, you started off on a bad foot by having the adorable little onion need to be escorted, so.
It all just feeds back into his childlike persona. By the way, speaking of retouched music, this ditty here, and I find myself using that word a lot in this recording session for some reason, that's so obviously redone. Like, I can't even remember how it was originally, but that pops against that, like, GameCube era model of Makar, that it's really kind of jarring. Not bad, just jarring.
Yeah, that's a lot of the effects. Like, every time I've groaned at certain lighting or certain models looking, that's always what it is. It's not me being like, oh, that's bad, that looks terrible, make it stop. It's more just, that's jarring. Because even with the game running through different processors, nothing looks bad. Like, it still has all the aesthetic. Like, Link still looks adorable, and nothing's gonna change that. It's just sometimes he looks a bit jarring. Like, it looks like he magically started being made out of a different material.
Oh, don't put the iron boots on, Link. He's not against free dark nuts.
No. See, this is a predecessor to the sumo match. Well, he charges at Link. If he has the boots, he won't take damage.
Ugh, I hate the sumo match so much.
I just find it hilarious. I mean, not all that fun to play, but to know that a sumo minigame exists in the Zelda universe amuses me.
Like, it is interesting, and I honestly can't remember what I said in the Twilight Princess playthrough about it, but it's just a little bit finicky, is all. One thing I do like in this game, mind you, is that as you start to go through the game, the Dark Knights get progressively fancier with their armor. Like, they'll get different coloured stuff. Like, actually, reminds me a little bit of the colour scheme for the Twilight Princess Dark Knights with the black and the gold.
Yeah, and I guess I could also go back to how there were two Dark Nuts in the original Zelda. You had blue and red, but that was all enemies. You had blue and red variations.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what I meant. I said a couple episodes ago that while we were in the little ice cavern, if some of the enemies had been dressed appropriately for the weather, like, we have variation in the enemies. I just thought it would have been cool to see that with some of these areas, like if that ice dungeon had come to be and been completely fleshed out, if not only having ice enemies, but also having Ganon's troops with ice gear on.
You keep saying you want, like, weather-specific enemies. I just picture, like, friggin' Keith wearing teeny tiny scarves and the like.
Aww. Yes, now I want it even more.
Like gigantic earmuffs and the like. Get ukulele on the horn. We're doing this, bitch.
Also, I want eyeballs on all the earmuffs. Eyeballs on literally the eyeballs. That's gonna be a joke. I already see it fucking coming.
Ah, yes. Oh, but for what? You'll have to wait and see. I really don't care for going across this gigantic chasm with both Link and Makar. If it's just Link, I have the Deku Leaf and I can control things pretty flawlessly, but Makar, he doesn't handle gigantic updrafts all that well.
Yeah, no, and that's the other thing too with this area is that with water and the water temple, it's really easy to be like, I want to go down now, I want to go up now. But with this, because the updraft is periodically turning on and off, it can be a bit frustrating to get to the exact altitude you want to be. Like, I want to go up, but oh shit, the wind pushed me up too high, now I gotta drop down, and oh no, I'm dropping too far down. It's a bit, it's not as precise as with water.
And I honestly can't remember if you can, like, when you're falling, just pull out the helicopter blades like you would with the Deku, so it makes it a little bit clunky as well.
Also, Makar, for being so light in an onion, drops like a fucking rock. Holy hell, like he fell faster than Link.
I did say we were sowing the seeds of the future earlier. Now that we have trees in place, we can use our newly found hookshot to get up to a new part of the dungeon. Oh, game design!
Oh yeah, this is the gimmick of the dungeon. I kind of forgot that, you set up this room only to have Makar stolen, and then we spent the last 20 minutes just trying to get back to this room.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice the trees have little faces!
I was gonna bring it up, but I wanted you to explain it to Joy instead.
They're so cute!
Kind of reminiscent of the Deku sprite, actually.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, just 2 dots and a smiley face.
Makar, you could have, your own free will, but I'll bring you along via voodoo instead. There really should be a button to say, hey, get over here, instead of having to manually bring them over like a piece of fucking luggage.
Yeah, especially Makar. You would think that since he's smaller too, he would be easier, but he carries him the exact same way that he carries Medley.
You should tuck him under his arm like a pillow or something.
Exactly!
Don't try and attack the blue bubbles with your sword directly, bring him in with the hookshot first.
Gotta dissipate that blue smoke.
Leisure shot. Boom!
You did say that the hookshot has sort of like that pre-launch click to it, but it's still pretty... It's still quick enough to launch at moving enemies, so at least there's that. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's not even that bad, but yeah, there's definitely that noticeable launch click. Also, in the original, I could have sworn that the leaves from the trees that he planted were green.
Really?
Yeah, because, I don't know, it's just that these trees that he's planting look really dead. I don't know, maybe I'm just remembering wrong, or maybe I didn't even imagine leaves. Maybe I thought they were just extensions of the branch, but they definitely just look more dry in this version.
Well, he didn't water them, he just put the seed in and it grew.
Yeah, I guess. And yeah, even the dirt in the dungeon itself doesn't look like it's properly watered.
Well, this place has been, like, underground and then underwater for a very, very long time.
Under salt water at that. I'm surprised everything isn't dead.
Suppose you could make an argument that the dungeons are airtight, if you'll pardon the pun, for this particular one. But we're just quibbling semantics at this point. The goal of this room is just to defeat the blue bubbles and slowly make your way up to the top.
First move yourself, then move Makar, then move Makar, then move yourself.
Jesus Christ.
This is tedious still. I could just imagine with having to hear the command melody played back at you. It's like the game is rubbing into your face just how tedious this section is.
Seriously. Look, there's even a floor master there just to rub it in a little bit more.
In case you happen to land in the wrong fucking place and just really feel like doing this whole thing over again.
That actually happens earlier in the bit where you have to flip the floor, so it's like facing the ceiling and then you drop down, or the other way around. Sometimes there'll be a floor master like who will appear right underneath you, because it moves about, obviously.
I really don't even like the floor master design in this game. Like, I don't know, I know everything is cartoony, but to me that the floor masters are too cartoony, because, like, the Redeads are cartoony, but those are terrifying. Those hands just look silly.
A bit too wibbly wobbly.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that there's an enemy that looks just like them that's just like grabby vines.
Oh, Peahatch, you were once so strong, but now you are not.
So I had to play MM3D recently. Didn't have to, wanted to.
Mm.
And I totally forgot how strong the big Peahats are.
Oh, yes.
I thought I could just go at it with my sword, and it's like, oh, no, guess I forgot that they're actually pretty difficult.
Rooms like this just scream, we need a little bit of padding, so just make the player fight a bunch of enemies.
You already padded the dungeon out enough with those climbing sections. Oh, now that's just pathetic, game.
Get out. I love the dying sound effects of the Wizrobes in this game.
Killing Wizrobes in any game is super satisfying because they are always the most frustrating enemy. Oh yeah, I totally forgot too that when this game first came out, the ice arrows and fire arrows, not only do you get them conveniently at the same time, but you can switch between them on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to equip fire arrows and equip ice arrows. And then they brought that back in Ocarina of Time 3D, but they took it out in MM because you kind of needed... There are some times that you need both fire and ice arrows at the same time, so...
What do you get if you mix fire and ice?
A wet piece of wood?
Evaporation! Dun-dun!
Oh.
Have you not seen Johnny's video on Sonic Boom Fire and Ice?
No.
That is, I'll show you afterwards, it's pretty funny.
I don't need to watch Johnny's Boom video because I met Boom Johnny in real life, so there.
Fine, rub it in my face, why don't you?
It's okay, you can stay with me next time.
Incoherent mumbling that ends on a really awkward note. I think we're getting close to the boss now.
That was one thing that is kind of weird about this dungeon too, is that, yeah, you have the mechanic of the big fan in the middle, but it's like, hey, guess what's under the big fan? Another big fan! It's like, why? Why did you do that, game? Oh, hi there, first level enemies. What you doing up in here?
Technically, the pink ones would be like first level. Well, actually, no, the blue ones were in the forest, weren't they?
Yeah. So I'm not impressed? No, not at all.
Well, what about Almost Nights? You impressed by those?
I am impressed by the shiny eye. I mean, those actually look really good with the bloom effect.
Yeah?
All the other eyes look so weird with extra bloom, but no, those look really good. And very creepy.
I thought I had done goof with my color correction settings and set it too high, but I turned it off and yeah, it just glows for some reason.
Hey, I like that.
How are we gonna get past this?
Well, you could jump over to the right side of the platform, ride the winds, left, right, then left again, and you can actually grab onto that platform.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's how you skip it, because remember, you don't actually save Makar once he gets trapped in a speedrun, so you have to find a lot of ways to bypass all of these, like, hookshot areas. Speaking of Makar, so his name is derived from Makore, which is a plant that grows in Africa, alright? And it's actually very similar to the Hawaiian word makani, which means wind.
Huh.
Similarly, medley is similar to the Sanskrit word medini, meaning earth.
Oh my god.
Yep. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it's just the little touches, I guess. They didn't just pick out the word medley because it was a pun for, you know, something song-based. No, they thought this shit through.
Also, I guess all of the Koroks, their leaves have real-life counterparts.
Yeah.
And Makar's is either a type of aspen, basswood, or redbud, because they all have heart-shaped leaves. And this one I didn't know was that in A Link Between Worlds, everyone knows about the Majora's Mask hanging on the wall. In Kakariko Village, there's actually, in one of the houses, there is a painting of Makar's face.
Oh.
And that's all I got on the little guy, other than he's fucking adorable!
That's fine, mate. It's the end of the dungeon now. All that's left is like a kind of tedious puzzle.
I like, too, how right before you pick him up, he turns around and gets ready.
No.
Be my friend forever, Makar.
Nope, here we go. A very 2D Zelda kind of puzzle, but in 3D for the first time.
Yeah. An alternative way to solve this is that your speed is not affected when you side jump. So if you just, look to the left or right, lock on, you can rapidly side jump across this room.
Ah, but you need Makar.
Exactly. So, but yeah, other than that, using the block to trap in the blade traps, that is very, very 2D. The wind, yeah, adds a little third-dimensional trick to it, but no, just using the block on blade traps. I mean, blade traps in general, you don't really see those in the 3D games.
No.
Or you don't see them often. You'll see them like a whole bunch in one dungeon, but they don't tend to be in like every dungeon, unlike in 2D games where you will see a blade trap pretty much in every other room.
Well, it's an easy puzzle to program, I guess.
Yeah.
And don't forget you have the whole 3D environment to take into account. Some people don't like it when things come from off screen and hit them. Apparently that's not good game design.
Also, it's kind of weird too with the blade traps that every time they collide and hit their target, they shing.
Yeah.
It's like, bang, shine, bang, shine, bang, shine.
No, we're getting there, Makar, don't worry about it.
It's just gonna sit there, jiggling, jingling. It's not a care in the world.
Jangling. Oh boy, we've really run out of stuff to say. Come on, Link, push faster.
This is the worst, holy shit. Like, I said I really like this dungeon, but I think I just really liked its aesthetic, because I like the foresty look, because honestly, in terms of forest-looking dungeons, this is... I like the way this one looks. Like, I like the way this one looks more than the Forest Temple in Twilight Princess. Like,
regardless of what some people might say, it's fine to like something just because it looks and sounds nice. You know, you don't have to justify yourself further than that.
but as I'm starting to see, like, I kind of want to correct my opinion on that. I like the way this dungeon looks more than I like how the Earth Temple looks. However, I prefer how the Earth Temple plays.
Okay, so gameplay, Earth Temple, looks, etc., wind.
Yeah, and then also, like I said, the Wind Temple sort of has that variety factor going for it.
Oh yeah.
Just because that was, like I said, that was a puzzle that came out of nowhere, and we don't really see another one kind of like it. Whereas Earth Temple was, use your mirror shield again, use Medley's mirror shield, now use your mirror shield.
Now use both the mirror shields.
Exactly. And then, I do remember that this block, this one you can just, sidle right behind. Like, the geography is so fucked up that they don't even, they're not even touching the back wall and the block, and it still doesn't touch. Like, they fixed the game, quote unquote, yet you can still sidle behind that block, leaving Makar in the dust. Oh yeah, I also forget that the teleport jar. Now that you have fire arrows, you can actually burn the wood that's on top of the jars.
Yeah.
So there's a really cool trick where you can actually reach an area further in the dungeon because you shoot a really long-range fire arrow to burn the teleport jar, and then you just go back to the one that's at the start of the dungeon, and you teleport yourself to the midway point.
Ah.
But there's silly stuff like that in a lot of games too, where so long as you can activate the midway point, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from teleporting from the start to the midway.
Oh boy, here we go, boss time, and this one is quite epic in the actual sense of the word.
This is the boss of Wind Waker to most people. And as you said, despite being the Wind Temple, we're going to be fighting a boss primarily in sand.
Oh, it'll fly. Will it ever fly? But this thing is a sandworm, first and foremost. The build-up to this is great. It gets its own piece of music on the soundtrack, for God's sake.
Well, all the bosses have one too. I mean, Jahala had its own unique thing, but this one, its startup music is unique as well.
I mean, this kind of thing, this design, this, like, worm-like thing, not, you know, anything new for the Zelda series. I mean, look at Moldor and Link to the Past, but fucking Molgera he's too big for words.
Yeah, Molgera, that's a good way to describe it. He's a mix, it's a mix between Volvagia and the Moldorm worms.
Oh.
But I think its main selling point, the thing that everyone wants to
Oh.
remind you about, is the boss fight music.
Oh,
Yep.
bring in the chickers. Bring in the Avatar The Last Airbender style chickers.
Chicka, 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 chicka. Which are toned down in this version. Why did you do this, Nintendo?
It's funny, they kind of reversed it. It's like the chickers are down, but the flute is higher.
Yeah, it's really weird. Even though they say they remastered music, at most, the best I can tell is that they rebalanced some songs, but this one, they kind of missed the mark on what was the best part of the song.
Well, boss strategy time, I guess. You got a hook shot at its tongue when it pokes its head out of the sand like a moron. I guess Molgera isn't that smart overall. And when you do, it will chuck out babbies just to kind of, disrupt you and make you target them instead of it. Kill them, and watch out when it comes crashing down into the sand. That hurts like a bitch.
I will say, the babies are fucking annoying. Usually when bosses, send their baby spawn, they're annoying, but they're more in the sense that, oh, hey, they're kind of wandering around and I'm hitting them while I hit the parent. But the baby Molgeras are, way more annoying than the average baby spawn in that they will throw off your target and you'll pull them towards you, and they can, instantly attack you once they get pulled towards you.
Yeah.
So you just get yourself into these bad situations. Meanwhile, it's like, no, I want the tongue. No, the tongue. No, goddammit, I want the tongue! And then you finally get it, and by then, Molgera is ready to just eat you, and then fly off and away.
It's funny, me and Tundra Boy were playing Pikmin 3, and we got to a point where there's this big sand... Well, it's kind of a sandworm. It takes place in, a dune, and it just reminded me of Molgera. I think from now on, whenever we get to a sand place, and there's something that, digs or burrows, I'm just gonna think of this sucker right here, and rightfully so, because once you get over the initial, poppiness of the hook shot, you see right there, that was purely my fault, but the timing was throwing me off. You'll think of nothing else but Molgera.
I know there are some times, though, that Molgera will just randomly pop out of the sand, and you do have some sort of visual cue on, the sand will rise up a bit, but there are sometimes that Molgera will just pop really fast, even to the point that you notice the sand, because of its sheer size. You're trying to run away from its spawn point, and nope, it got you too quickly. But overall, other than just the issues with the babies and the hookshot's delay and just the fight can be a little chaotic. It's a really great fight, really great boss, really good design, great music. It's just a shame that the dungeon beforehand is honestly way more tedious than I remember it being.
It was a good way to cap off the dungeon, though. It did end on a good note.
Yeah, but like I said, these last two dungeons, if they could have just made all of them like this and had more than just these two, then Wind Waker would be up there as the best dungeons in the series, but it's more it gives you a sample of great dungeon design.
Well, I think if they had done mini dungeons for each Triforce Shard, definitely it would have been up there with the likes of Ocarina, or maybe even Twilight Princess, at least in terms of dungeons. But alas, we shall get to that when we get to that. Okay, Maestro, are you ready? Yes, player ready. Let it begin. Drop that funky beat.
Drop the bass.
This is my jam right here, so of course I'm going to talk all over it. There's soundtracks on YouTube, you know what to do.
Yeah, I do like how there is, the playing it by yourself version, there is the Sage's version, there's the Awakening version, then there's obviously these duet versions. This is still slightly different than when we played it by the waterfall, because now, Fado is playing more of an accompaniment instead of just them both playing the same notes.
So I like how Makar was like, thank you, good night! Let it be known that Makar was the one who fully restored the Master Sword. Sorry, Medley.
Oopsies!
It's poor Medley, she brought the fins out of the sword, but Makar was the one who made it shine with the power to defeat evil.
His ancestors, literally every single one is satisfied.
That's hard to do. If you've ever watched Milan, you can just tell that ancestors can... I love that, by the way. May the winds of fortune blow you back. I forgot what point I was trying to make. Fuck it, ancestors are dicks.
Your great-granddaughter was a cross-dresser!
Jesus Christ.
Do that fucking line.
Here's the cutscene you were misremembering.
Okay. Yeah, see, I thought there was one after each. But I do remember this one being different because of the manfish. I really was expecting more to come about from this manfish other than he's a fish. What more is there to be?
Yeah, it's so weird. Never explained. He's just a chaotic force of nature, I guess.
Which makes him even more terrifying. I have troubling news. We've reached the point in the game where they started cutting content, so, Triforce Hunt!
Oh, Jesus, and it's gonna be a two-parter because it's just that fucking long.
Goody.
Oh, well. Wind Temple overall, Mexu?
Good. Just tedious.
Okay, thank you. I think we're a little bit wrecked at this point. We've done like 6 parts straight, but that's how we fucking get down here at HFC. So we'll see you guys next time, where, unfortunately, we kind of have to go hunting for Triforce shards. Please join us next time, and share in the tedium with us. Bye bye for now!